Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Six Rings King Show on a new night, Monday night now, baby. We're really excited actually to have Eric McLean on the show here, college football analyst, co-host of the Huddle. Coach, yes, all right.
First touchdown of the year.
Miami Hurricanes, yeah. You know the name already. It's Mercy. Ha ha. It's a six-ring Kane show. Can't forget the name though. Got Jazz, Blue, Vision, DJ, break the game code. Ain't no changing them, ain't no breaking them. Real Portland live from the Hard Rock Stadium. Ball 14 for the orange and green. We see the six-ring champs. Let's more than a dream. This is life on the field. Beyond 100 yards, a hurricane that's never still put a damage to your squad.
What's wrong with us? Seriously.
What's wrong with us? We're Miami Hurricanes fans.
Welcome to the Six Rings Kane Show, a show dedicated to Miami Hurricane sports, featuring the legendary Larry Bluestein, Jazz Santana, Vish, and Danny Gillette. Let's go Canes.
And buenas noches, everybody. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? We've got Canes basketball just got started here in the second half. They're up one. They were up one at halftime. And along with Vish, they're up 3 now. Yeah, I'm a little behind, but
yeah, I think I'm behind Jazz, and I think Blue's in front of all of us. So no comments on the game.
Oh my gosh, Vish!
Until I react. In fact, they're just now. Jordan Miller just scored to put them up 3 on my screen, so I'm like a minute behind you guys. So
you're really shocked.
I didn't want to tell you.
No spoilers. No spoilers.
Shout out to Slink for being super delayed. Apparently,
man, what is happening here? This is no good.
I think we all got a bone to pick. At least I do, and I know that probably maybe Vish does too, and all the fans are obviously going crazy, but. I think we're ending I think we're finally coming to an end. I hope, I pray for the OC search. The DC search took, 12 minutes.
Do you want to make our prize pick? Before Mario does.
Oh man, if we could put prize picks up on, as far as like the offensive coordinator, what it's going to be, what the over under is on days. I
mean, they should have done that. They would have taken all of our money.
Yeah, no kidding, man. Really. But yeah, let's give a shout out to Prize Picks real quick. PrizePicks.com. Go check them out. Log in, and once you log in, you can sign up using the code 5 FIVE, and they'll match your deposit up to $100. It's real simple. It's you pick anywhere between 2 to 5 players, and then you choose the over under on those individual players. All depends on how much money you want to make, right? So if it's if it's 2 players, you make a little bit less. It's 5 players, you make a little bit more. It all depends on how much you want to play, how much you want to win. So make sure you go ahead and sign up. Use the code 5 FIVE, and they'll match your initial deposit up to $100. Make sure you check them out. It's PrizePicks.com. Yeah, this game is going to distract me also, but whatever. It is what it is. We've got a lot to talk about, a lot to cover. First, let's mention defensive coordinator Lance Guidry is the new defensive coordinator at the University of Miami. For any of you living under a rock that don't know yet, it's been about a week now, or a little bit less than a week, that he joined the program as a defensive coordinator coming out of Tulane, I guess, right? but really, he was a defensive coordinator at Marshall.
Tulane.
Yeah, technically Tulane, but he was the defensive coordinator at Marshall. Led them to a top 10 ranking in overall defense, which is huge. And then headed over to Tulane before Mario snatched them up before he could even say hello to his teammate, to his team. But look, it's funny because I spoke to Blue the minute it was announced, and me and Blue were like, "What the hell?" And he, Blue. I mean, you knew it, right? Like it was somebody that nobody had no freaking clue about. Then, of course, you do your homework and you see, holy crap, he's a hell of a coach. It's a hell of a DC. It's a great hire for Mario. But the truth is, had you not, I mean, everybody was like, what the hell is this, right?
Yeah, well, like I said to you, I said, somebody always has somebody in the building that knows something. And I said, well, you know what? I know 4 janitors in the building. Is that close enough? Maybe they gave me better insight. They were feeling, they were looking at all the trash and all the notes that Mario was making. So,
Right.
but nah, you knew that was going to be the case because this is how Mario works. I mean, he doesn't let anybody talk about injuries. He won't comment on certain things. He's learned from Nick Saban. He's learned from Greg Schiano, guys like that who are. That's the way they ran business. I mean, they didn't, the people that they hire, they're almost sworn to the secrecy of anything that leaves this building, and you might as well just clean out your desk type of thing. And
Right.
it hasn't been like that in the previous regimes, believe me. Sometimes some of the coworkers knew more than Manny did.
That's the truth, right?
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, right? Like you mentioned some of those names like Greg Schiano and Nick Saban, but even it's just been wild. It's been a roller coaster of an off season for the Miami Hurricanes. Transfer portal wise, but more importantly, the coaching staff. We all knew that there was going to be some changes, right? We knew that there was going to be some things going on, but we're talking about implementing now a new defensive coordinator. Charlie Strong is not in the building anymore either. So now you're looking to possibly add not only a defensive coordinator, a linebacker coach now as well, potentially other positions, right? Potentially a defensive backs coach, whether it's bringing up DVD, which a lot of people are in favor of, including myself. But also what happens with Jamil Adai? There's been a lot of rumblings that he's not happy, that he might go somewhere. There's so many crazy things going on. For me, I'm just excited that we've got the defensive coordinator in place because chances are, Vish, and I want to throw this to you on him, is he's going to want to maybe bring a guy or two in that he's familiar with, that has had some success to coach some of those positions as well, right?
Yeah, and I think that's part of like you mentioned actually last week at this time. I don't think either was Guidry wasn't even hired yet, right? And since then he's been hired. Strong also is leaving, so a lot of change there. But part of that probably is he wants to bring his own guys in there. Biggest thing I'm happy about here is he exists. He's a real person. We actually hired someone. That's he's got that going for him because apparently that's really difficult for us to do. So really happy about that. More seriously, I'm actually happy that this is. You'd like to see that the coaches learn from mistakes. And last year, he put together an all-star staff, and I think the egos are too big on that. Everyone thought, hey, I'm the big fish here. I should have input on this and that and the other thing, and I should be running this, and I should be the head coach or whatever. You get into those situations where when you over-task people, they still got to know their role. So someone like Strong, who's been a head coach for the last 15 years, being a linebackers coach, that is going to be naturally problematic. Same thing with Ponce, is he dropped down. He was an offensive coordinator, and now he's quarterbacks coach. And then if you have offensive coordinator, it's like, no, I'm the offensive coordinator. I'll tell you what we do here. And that it's just so I think he learned from that. Guidry is not from his coaching tree, and he's not a big name guy. He went and I think found the guy he thought this is the best coach I can get, and that is very different from what he did last year, where he got the biggest name he could get. And so I like that that's changed. It's kind of learning from your past mistakes. So yeah, Guidry probably got some guys he's comfortable working with. We want that cohesion, and that that staff has to work together as a seamless unit. And last year that didn't happen. So yeah, I'm sure he's got some guys he wants to bring in. And frankly, someone like Charlie Strong looks at this younger coach who's not. I mean, he was a head coach for a while at McNeese, but not really as pedigree. And he's like, working for this guy, I'm out of here. And that's fine. Yeah. You got to get those guys out, right? And maybe Adai is the same way. Maybe Adai thinks, last year I was kind of making fun of the fact that there were rumors he was supposed to be he was a candidate, because I was like, you got to be kidding me. But maybe he thinks he should be. And he's like, no, I'm not working for this guy. And that's fine. Get those guys out of here. If they don't want to be here, they can go. And I think that's the reset we're having now, because frankly, last year was a complete disaster.
I agree.
Definitely great. I was going to say Vish makes some great points because, and I said it all along, especially when we had somebody, and if you remember Frank, when Frank came in, he's a great guy, and we had him on the show, and he's all in, but like you said, he was a coordinator calling the shots, and then all of a sudden he had to shut his mouth and not even have any input. And I think that was a whole different story. If he had the opportunity to at least have some input, things may have been different. And you can't have things like that. I mean, it's just, and I'm sure Mario this time around is going to make sure that the guys that are working on the defense work on the defense and not just be another, guy who waits for instruction all the time. It's a team. And you had mentioned a couple of names, and a DVD, great, been on campus, kids know him, but also I heard a name too that maybe just as good a fit or maybe even a better fit at this point. Corey Bell knows everybody. Has been every school in the state, been to Florida, been to USF. He's at FIU currently. I mean, he's as good a recruiter as you get, and his name is just as, remember, he was a head coach in high school, and he coached all these guys, but he was another name that I heard over the weekend as maybe a possible guy to bring aboard as well. And, I know the Charlie Partridge situation got a lot more difficult, and that's probably why Guidry was hired, because first of all, I think Charlie is calling Mario up and thanking him a great deal for even thinking of him, because it got him a double pay and it got him a promotion. I mean, he went from 600 to almost 1.3, and from just a defensive line coach to co-defensive coordinator now. So.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I get it. And I totally get that, why he would try to go after Charlie as well. By the way, for everybody that's kind of writing David and the rest of the guys with regards to the offensive coordinator, we're gonna trust me, we're gonna get to the offensive coordinator in just a second, because
what offensive coordinator?
Yeah. We'll get to
We're
that.
going coordinatorless. We're gonna revolutionise the sport, man. We just won't play offense, just play defense.
Yeah, right.
I mean, we kind of tried that last year. It didn't work. So.
No, it didn't work because we didn't play good defense either. So, look, on the defensive side, all right, he runs, like, I guess he runs multiple out of a 4-2-5. So the biggest thing is to make sure you're gonna have to you're gonna have to find 5 legitimate, defensive backs, whether they're safeties, corners, that striker position, whatever you want to call it. You're gonna have to find 5 guys back there that are going to be able to play in this defense. And I think it's going to be the biggest challenge. But at the same time, I think that bringing in a guy like a Corey Bell, DVD, even other guys that have been mentioned, even if Adai stays, I think it's a good thing, right? There's other guys that have been mentioned, another Corey that's out there has been mentioned. There's a lot of names out there. You're going to need those guys to come in and develop these cornerbacks and help them to learn this system. It's a complicated system per se, but it's a good one. It's one that's going to make them really, really stand out. It's going to be a good defense if they can get it down, right? Which we're happy to know that we got the defensive coordinator in on time to pass out the playbook. So I think that it's going to be interesting to see how these guys perform in the spring, if they have a clue, if they understand the concepts and the multiple formations that they're going to be playing out of in that 4-2-5. Ooh, boy. Oh, come on.
It's only complicated, though, Jazz, if you don't have the talent. I mean, it gets less complicated if these kids are picking things up and actually implementing them. They have guys. I think they have more probably quality defensive backs ready to plug and play than they do linebackers. Right. I mean, they have, a handful of linebackers. Obviously, Wesley had a great year last year, no doubt. But a defense like his calls for sideline to sideline linebacker play. And that means there's a lot of assignments to learn. But at the same time, if you have a secondary too, I mean, you could throw, the whole thing is designed, if you're an offensive coordinator in that scheme, is to throw a lot of underneath balls. And what that does is suck up your corners, and then you kind of could throw a little bit long, but then again, you have the 2 safeties over top. And no, I watched the scheme, and it's a great scheme. Any scheme is great if you have the personnel to run it. I mean, if you don't, you could be. And that was, I thought, for the most part, that's been Miami's problem. Manny's knows his defense a little bit, I guess, if he's coordinator now at Penn State and all this. But he just doesn't have personnel, and it got worse and worse and worse. And I think you're 100% right. And what Vish makes a good point about some of these coaches. I mean, the coaches have to be a fit too. You just can't be bringing in any coach and then say, "Oh, well, he was in." And that's what Miami did last year. They, as Vish said, they got an all-star coaching staff, but everybody wanted to, get a time to, get at the throttle of the ship, and that's not how successful teams are made.
Yeah, and that's why it's important that whoever comes into the staff is able to teach Guidry's scheme, works well with him. Like, we can't have that lack of cohesion again, and that showed up all. I mean, the number of busts, Middle Tennessee putting up 500 yards. Like, the defense was pretty terrible last year. It's just the offense was so much worse that it was less noticeable. But like, if the offense was not terrible, like, we would have been talking about how bad the defense is a lot more than we have.
Oh yeah. Man, wait until you see that play. Right.
It was the pack layup.
Yeah,
I think I'm closer to you. I think Blue's like a minute and a half ahead, but
they're pissed.
Absolutely, Ben. Absolutely.
UNC is pissed. Too many cheese not in the yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you said it. I want to go back to what Ben said earlier too. Coaches like Partridge and Kendall are using Mario as leverage. Look, at this point, Kendall he already signed. He already got his extension and signed for. He actually took a pay cut, believe it or not. So I don't think that there's leverage there anymore with regards to that. I mean, they could, right? I guess essentially say, "Oh, we're going to give you even more money," but I just don't think that's what Toledo wants to do anyways. I don't know if they have that type of budget. But the point is, this is why leaks, it's hard for leaks to get out, right? Like, you don't want these leaks to get out because some of these coaches that are really in the running, then this kind of stuff happens, or someone else kind of poaches them or talks to them, and it gets ugly. And that's why Mario keeps it tight to the vest. I think Blue knows that better than anybody else, is how he is. But as we segue to the next topic, which is the offensive coordinator, I'm a little bit concerned, Blue and Vish. I'm a little bit concerned at this point because we're talking about, I mean, it's been, I don't know how many days now, right? It's been a long time. I think that the fans are getting restless. I think everybody is getting restless. I know Mario, dances to the beat of his own drum, but listen, it could hurt you as well down the road. It could hurt you in the end, and it could hurt the people that support this program. Okay, so I'm starting to get worried now because I know last week we were like, should we be worried yet or should we not, right? And I was under the, well, not just yet, right? I think that he's got a plan. I think he's doing I mean, at this point,
yeah,
I'm worried. I'm worried.
Well, I mean,
I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like what's going on.
Yeah, and we actually talked about this offline a little bit last week. We're we cover the team. We're technically media, but we're fans first. So from a media perspective, I can kind of thought, look, he's methodically working his way through whatever. From a fan perspective, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? And I was actually giving him the benefit of the doubt last week. So I was like, look, there's going to be some slowdown and stuff, like, because there was obviously a process to work through with Gaddis. It wasn't a simple, like, get out. They had to work through contractual. All that stuff had to happen. So it took a long time to get him out the door. Once he was announced gone, I was like, okay, that's where I'm starting my clock. So even though he knew Gas was gone probably for months. Right. So I was giving him that benefit. At this point, like, unless like he announces someone off the Eagles or Chiefs staff tomorrow, like, what have we been doing? Like, what is happening? So it's really hard to really explain this away. Ultimately, whoever he hires, it's going to be, if the offense is good in the fall, it's fine. Just like last year. I mean, we waited and he did, obviously it ended up being a disaster, but he hit a home run in terms of just, oh, that made sense. It's hard to extricate Michigan's offensive coordinator.
Right.
I don't think that's happening here. It does feel a lot like he's kind of flailing around a bit. And I guess we'll see who ends up in the job. And again, the results are all that we're going to care about. Just from a fan perspective, this is really frustrating to watch. Just like, come on, it looks incompetent.
Two things I want to kind of pose to both of you with this, right? Number one, I agree, or I get what Bruce Feldman has said. And I don't know if you guys saw what he said recently in an article or a podcast I think he does with Manny Navarro. The whole thing of his interview process takes way too damn long. Number one, and that could turn coaches off, right? That could turn coaches off to where he takes so long to interview someone that coaches kind of say, well, hey, like if it takes this long for you to figure out what you want to do, you have no freaking clue as to what you want to do. So I'm over here interviewing with you and you're taking forever. It's like any job, right? Like if you go interview for a job and they take 2 or 3 weeks to call you back, and in 3 weeks they call you back and you're like, hold on a second, I already took a job, or I don't really want this job anymore. You guys, that happens, right? This is real life. These are the things that happen. Hold on. Fire Marine says he can keep things close to the vest, I'm sure he says. But after all this time, we can start to wonder if he has been rejected multiple times and he's just left with. Yeah, like that's a great thought process from the fans or from anybody else that's looking at this from the outside, saying, "What the hell is going on? Is he striking out on a lot of these interviews? Are the interviews taking too long and the coaches are saying the hell with it, or is he just being is he overthinking? Is he overanalyzing? Is he over interviewing? Right? Because you can do too much of one thing also. So my question is it a case of, is he kind of just taking too long with these interviews, or is he overanalyzing and overthinking the whole entire process? Are the coaches getting fed up? What's your thought process on what's going on right now, Blue, with the whole offensive coordinators situation? You're on mute, Blue. There you go. Oh, nope. There
Sorry,
you go.
I was coughing, so I didn't want you to hear it. But you're 100% right with the fact that I think what's happening, he's getting rejected. There's a lot of guys that may not want this position. They were seeing what's going on. And remember, Mario's he's not one of those 9-to-5 guys. You also have to put in the perspective that he's going to, especially a new offensive coordinator, they might as well tell their family, we'll see you next week, because as soon as he gets the job, he'll be in here. They'll get him his shirts, they'll get him his gear, and get him his office, and all of a sudden, what's going to happen? That's why the Applewhites and the Nussmeyers become more prevalent, because of the fact they're both quarterbacks. See, so if you hire an offensive coordinator who's not a quarterback, you got to get a quarterback coach as well. So I just think that he's getting rejected by probably the plan A, plan B, plan C guys. And now he's working on plan D without letting everybody know he is. And that's, because right now, if he comes away with a guy, like I said, like an Applewhite or whoever, if the guy works out, then we're all going to sit there looking like fools. And they go, well, he already knew who he wanted. He just wanted to make sure that, but I don't think that's happening. I think he's running upwind right now, and nobody's really, nobody wants to, because there's too many factors. Like I said before, you look at everybody on staff and they all buy into what Mario's about. And you have to do that, because if not, there's a door. There'll be a revolving door every year, and you don't want that for your program, especially because when you sell an offensive coordinator to a quarterback, to a running back, to a receiver, you're selling a couple of years. You're selling probably the duration of their time here, 3-4 years. Right. Truthfully, that's the way it should be. I mean, it used to be that you're assistant coach for 6, 7, 8 years. Look at Virginia Tech, 10 years. Some of those guys were there, but the game has changed, and you can guarantee every year, I don't care what program it is. Look at Alabama, already made 3 changes. So it happens every year. But what Miami needs to do, get some stability. And the guy that he brings in, see, unlike what we were talking about, Frank Ponce, Frank was willing to work with him and learn and then become the coordinator. And that's how it's supposed to be. That's how it's supposed to be, because when you hire inside house, you really don't lose any. You don't lose anything from recruiting. You don't lose anything from from game planning, game management, knowledge with the players. And that's how successful programs run. You try to get somebody from within. Doesn't always happen, but Miami's not in that position. So right now, and you mentioned what, 2.5 weeks now till they start with their their spring. And during spring, we wanted to establish guys that are gonna make a strong push for the summer, because when you leave any spring, you have to be mindful that, although it hasn't been like that here in Miami, it's always, we're going into summer and these guys are still 1-2 and we can't separate them. But this spring, especially with so many new faces and so many kids that transfer portal and high school kids that are on campus now. And they're conditioning, and that's fine. And they're getting acclimated from a class standpoint, which is fine. But they got to be in a playbook. And what playbook do you have on offense? None.
Right. You got nothing. And by the way,
and nobody wants that stupid playbook from last year.
By the way, the playbook was officially could be handed out. It was either Friday or today. I don't remember. Some say Friday, some say today. They still don't have one.
Yeah.
So what the hell? Look, here's another thing, right? And I'll pose this to Vish. The whole Jason Candle saga, right? Before it was, well, he's got 48 hours to make a decision, and that was when we spoke. We spoke last week, and after 48 hours, he was supposed to tell Mario yes or no. Those 48 hours came and went, and he's still a candidate. He's still possibly a candidate. He's still, weighing his options, apparently, quote unquote, right? So, like, at this point, listen, man, it's crap or get off the pot, Jason Candle. You're either going to come or you're not. That's number one. This is my first thought, right? And number two, Vish, I mean, why? Is this not a mistake on Mario's part to be like, hey, what's going on, Jason Campbell? Do you still want to come after I gave you 48 hours and you called my bluff on that? Like, what's going on with this whole Jason Candle thing? At this point, should Mario just be like, I'm moving on from this guy? He still doesn't know, or is this all a smoke string, right? Like, could he still be in the picture? There's still work. And by the way, the consensus is, the talk on the town is that there's been interviews going on the past 3 or 4 days, but not necessarily for offensive coordinator positions, right? It's been for off the field positions, analysts, position coaches as well. So it's not all offensive coordinators. But at this point, like, you gotta now. Vish. I know I'm going on a little rant because I want to throw it to you, but I don't care what anybody says. You got to give the fans something. You got to give us something, because guess what? We're the ones that support this damn program anyways, right? The fans are important. So anybody who says Mario doesn't give a crap about what the fans think, he better start caring, because at the end of the day, when you're raising prices and you go 5 and 7 and you're raising prices and you're asking for donations to get in line to get parking passes, you better give the fans something. You better give them something that they want. Vish, I don't know what your thought is on Candle and everything else, but I had to go on a little bit of that rant there, because I think it's, if you don't start winning, you keep doing this, you're going to have a big problem on your hands.
Yeah, and I think that's the ultimate. That's all that's going to matter in the long run, right? And I think Mario realized that. So as much as you're right, he can't not care about the fans, because, frankly, and maybe this has changed with the new athletic director. Before, the previous athletic director, who we will not name on the show because F that guy, did not care at all if the team won or not. It was all, what can I get away with? And so it was only when the fans lost their minds that it would even cause them to make moves. So I think we have a real athletic director now, so that's no longer the case. But still, you don't, you want to recruit and coach in an environment with the fans behind you. And he came in with a ton of goodwill, and that's slowly eroding with this stuff. And I frankly think the fans will be happy to give him a pass on last year, given that changes happened, right? But now you're doing this process. If this process ends in a hire that doesn't work, I think he's going to have a lot of trouble, justifying that. And I think the general fan consensus is still, It's still we got one program that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So
I won't tell you the score since I'm too far
I
ahead.
know you're probably like 2 possessions ahead, but
And another one that might be pretty damn good this year too. But whatever, go ahead.
we'll talk baseball a little
Yeah.
bit before we end. But yeah, so I think he's slowly eroding that goodwill, and I actually I don't disagree with this Sinclair that that we don't need to settle, but he's got to get the best person he could get. And I don't think getting jerked around by Jason Candle or whatever is putting him in that position. Frankly, at this point, if you've been playing footsie with this dude for months and he still can't make the decision, you got to move on. You're going to have no control over this guy when he comes in, which is exactly what we came out of last year, where we just had all this mess within the staff. So while I agree with you, you don't just hire like first available guy. It's now gotten to the point where go through a process, whittle it down, get the guy that's going to come and take him. And as far as like, I have no idea what's going on with Jason Candle, obviously, but like, you got to move on, Mario. Like, you can't keep messing around with this kind of stuff. And I don't know where this process ends. I think that's my concern. It's not that we need to settle. It's that you got to. I mean, it's like
I think at this point he may be settling, right?
You're right.
So
you got to get the best guy you can get. It's not like I mean, Eric Bieniemy's not coming from the Chiefs, right? I mean, you're gonna have to get someone, right? I mean, that's the reality. So get the best guy you can get, and that means can get. Because if someone's still jerking you around after months of like this, after he did it last year too, that guy's not a guy you can get.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of where I'm at with that. I mean, ultimately, again, if the team is good next year, no one's gonna remember this. If the team is bad, they're going to come right back to this and be like, remember, you couldn't even figure out who to hire, and now look at this. He should have moved on from gas more quickly. He could have made moves more quickly. Whether that's even true or not, it doesn't matter. It's all going to be playing the result. But that's where he's put himself into that position where, just to talk about how – that's not a jump ball. You got to be kidding me. Just to talk about how much he's mismanaged. He came in with like almost infinite goodwill. And he doesn't have that anymore. So that's really what he's lost. He's lost a lot of that kind of cushion he had to deal with. And someone said 9 wins. I don't know if he needs to go 9 wins, but
not falling into that again.
but if he goes like 6-6 next year, they're gonna. I mean, our fans are crazy. They're gonna be like, fire this guy. I mean, he's gonna get banners flying over the stadium. Right. That doesn't mean it's not fixable at that point because Butch had banners flying over the stadium too.
It is.
But
but why get to that point? Yeah, why get to that point?
Exactly.
Shout out to Average Canes on here.
And shout out to our man Danny Gillette.
We
called it audible. We called it audible out of it. It started half an hour early, and then we're like, "Is Danny gonna see this? Is he gonna be home?" We're like,
"No, I didn't see it at all."
We thought so. We're like, I don't think Danny saw the message. Oh man, but
Danny was hanging out with J-Lo at Dunkin' Donuts there.
I wish I would have stayed at Dunkin' Donuts the whole show if that was the case. But anyway, I'm happy to come on here and see the anger regarding the lack of an offensive coordinator. I'll just say quickly, we should have had one by now. And like to Vicious' point and to Jazz's point and to Blue's point, if we don't do well next season and if we go 6-6 and just barely skate by, it's not going to look good on Mario. And I hate the games he plays where he, I get waiting for the right guy and I get waiting for, the guy you want. But at this point, it's
sometimes
a little bit concerning. Yeah, it's a little bit concerning.
I mean, we've seen him try to manage a clock at the end of the games. He can't do that either.
Fair enough.
So this is like he's got time management issues. This man, like, it takes him 4 months to hire a coordinator. He can't handle his timeout situation. There's all sorts of stuff going on here. So,
all right. So let's kind of throw out a couple of names that we've been hearing lately, right? Blue mentioned a couple guys already. Major Applewhite is one. Another one that keeps coming up is a guy, Shannon Dawson. Out of Houston, who runs kind of like that. I think he's under the what's his name?
Holgerson.
Yeah, Holgerson tree and all that. That's that air raid type of offense. I don't know if so. Major Applewhite kind of runs that offense as well. What are your thoughts on Major Applewhite or a guy like Shannon Dawson, Blue?
Both of them are doable. It's just when they come in. I mean, if they come in now, They get that. But the thing about that I like about maybe an Applewhite is because of the fact that he's that quarterback. He's a proven quarterback, and I think he would work well with our quarterbacks. I really do. He's always had a great rapport with the quarterbacks, and I think that's extremely important. On the other hand, you look back. I watched a lot of the film of the Houston games over the last couple of years and watched what Dawson does, and very innovative, and he has an opportunity, to be a special type of guy. I think he comes in with less baggage, obviously, but at the same time, he comes in with not as much experience. Right. And Applewhite, who has played at a high level, been there, been around it, coached at it. I just think he's a dude. I think he's the guy that, and I said this last week, and hopefully I'm not saying it next week because it'll be 1 week closer to spring, but they got to come in now. I mean, with all the things that I was saying before, because you could get your assistants after, okay? If you want to get new assistants and, bring in a new DB coach and bring in a new wide receiver coach and whatever it is, you can get them in the next couple of weeks. But you got to get your coordinator now. And the whole thing is, and I'll keep bringing it down, I mean, in my early going, I used to run restaurants. And the whole thing is until you get a chef, you don't know what food to serve. So how, you could get a sous chef and you can get, wait staff and you can get all this stuff like that. But till you get a chef and know what he's going to prepare, you're really in a hole. I mean, your business and your machine can't move forward. Because certainly Mario couldn't be an offensive coordinator. He's never really called a lot of the plays. I mean, yeah, he's been a lineman, and that's great. But I don't know what the holdup is, but there's got to be a holdup, because if there wasn't, then we wouldn't be this far into the game, and we would have had this, even hiring a DC, even though we look back as, it's great that we have, it should have been 2-3 weeks ago. I mean, you have to put things into place. I mean, this wasn't a team that was 11-2 last year. Right. I mean, this is a team that lost some crappy games. So everything needs to be resurrected. So your resurrection time, especially because like I said, this is probably the most important spring they've had, because you've got a lot of spaces to fill. And you've got a lot of new faces that are on board right now. I mean, we're not waiting till May. There's 22 kids in there that weren't here last year. So, it's sort of right now they're having a fun time lifting weights and running. But what are they doing? I mean, are they getting together? Even if Tyler brings the receivers out and stuff like that, all they're doing is pitch catching. They don't have any real things to go over. So I'm of the belief whoever they bring in, I mean, time just keeps wasting, and the continuity is going to be less and less. And to me, if they bring in somebody this week, we're all forgotten, because over the next 2 weeks, they'll be kicking butt. They'll be, the new guy will be, before he ever even brings anybody in, he'll be having meetings with the kids. He'll be watching film around the clock. He has to see the personnel. A lot of these guys they know the personnel from afar, but you can't go into the spring without knowing the guys. Yep. You can't be saying, what's this guy's name again? If you keep doing that, it's sort of like I thought when Mario had the job, that he came in here with, sort of like what McDaniel did. By the time McDaniel got off the plane and met with the media, geez, he knew every background of everything. And that's what you got to be. You have to have an astute coach like that, who's willing to make up for lost time and understand that Mario's way is the only way. You cannot improvise. You cannot improv. You can't stick things in there. You've got to do what he says.
Right.
And if you don't, over, and another crappy season.
Yep.
And I, for one, going back to Vicious' point, we're with the media, but we're fans. And we hate this more than anything, because we could see what's going on from both standpoints. And, you almost want this stuff to be over.
David brings up a good question here, Blue. David Everett, but Blue, how long have you known Mario? Just go ask him what's taking so long.
But you know, I it's funny that I asked him, texted him last week, and he never got back to me. Then all of a sudden, Saturday, I wasn't feeling real well, but he fired away all these questions. And I told him, he says, so when are you coming down? I said, well, I'd like to come down to meet your new staff. I mean, hopefully that's sooner or later. But I don't know. Yeah, I've known him since he was 14. He's got that type A personality.
Yep.
I mean, if you keep pushing him and backing him up against the wall, he's going to get angrier. And so everybody's given him his leeway. I'm sure even, the AD and everybody is, they're not.
But he's not going to get as much slack if he continues to do this again.
And just to highlight Fernie's point, this whole trickle of one coach in, one coach out. Like if people aren't going to be here, just be like, this person's not here.
That's it.
And
move
feel like
forward.
this. It's just, and again, everyone's been saying this repeatedly. It won't matter if the product in the field is good, but it all just, feeds into that. We don't know what's going on here. Like he doesn't know what he's doing,
right?
Whether he does or not. When you have these trickle of things coming out, OC leave. Well, first quarterbacks coach leaves, then OC leaves, then defensive coordinator leaves. Then you hire a defensive coordinator. Then the linebackers coach leaves. It's just like,
makes it look like there's no structure.
Yeah, and it just looks like, frankly, it looks like anyone that can leave is trying to leave because those are your four most high-profile assistants. So it does kind of lend itself to that, and to Blue's point, this is a Type A guy who is very control freak. It looks like he doesn't have control of this situation, and that's an odd one.
Vish, put up there what Ben says about Dan Mullen. Yeah, so we wanted Dan Mullen wanting to now wanting some guy named Shannon. We are down bad. No, so I didn't say we wanted Shannon Dawson. I'm saying those are the names that are being thrown out there. Number one, number two. I think what is bad or sad is that at this point, a lot of us are just hire someone already and let's move forward, right? And that kind of sucks, man. That kind of sucks. Maybe you guys want to get to this. I'm gonna step out for 1 second. I'll be right back.
Okay, I will get to this. I do think that's definitely the case. I mean, I don't know that he's necessarily here for 10 years, but Mario's got a long leash. And so, he's not going to get fired, but there are, steps between fired and him losing some control here. And there's a lot of money has been invested in him. And if we don't put a better product on the field next year, I don't know that he's going to have the leeway to do what he's doing right now, which is, all right, all these guys are going out. Give me a blank check to bring in whoever I want to replace them. Like that he's still in that mode. And once that goes, that's when you start losing control.
Right.
And maybe that'll be a better thing for him, frankly, because maybe he needs some, maybe with his Type A personality, as Blue mentioned, maybe him having dictatorial powers isn't the best thing, but that's what he's got right now. But he could definitely lose that. Like there's a lot of ground between being fired and, losing some parts of control, or them saying, look, we're not going to give you the coach budget anymore. Like you've already blown through it twice. Right. So he needs to, and I think he knows that too. Like he knows, if he's coming here next off season again, trying to find hire coordinators again because he's messed it up again. Like he's eventually no one at some point they're gonna stop investing in this and they're gonna be like, no, make do it. And obviously it was a different regime. There wasn't as much money around, but I do think that happened to Manny Diaz. Like I don't know that Manny necessarily wanted to be the defensive coordinator his last year here. It's just he knew Blake Baker couldn't be anymore, and they weren't gonna pay for another. Remember, he didn't even fire him. He demoted him to linebackers coach that he left voluntarily because they're we're not paying for any of this. You're not fired, but figure it out. We're not paying for any of this. And Mario could get to that stage.
Well, here's the thing too. Let's look at where this athletic director came from. So his leash is going to be a little bit shorter in that football reign because he left a program that was pretty damn good. And he saw what it took. And so his leash is going to get shorter and shorter because while he was here to resurrect the entire sports program, which he's doing, great baseball, great basketball, their volleyball team has done real well. They're really good in track. So football is going to be, the odd man out as far as, and that's because that's the money. Although if you went to every game but the FSU game, it'd be hard to believe that they could run toilets on the damn revenue they got from some of them games. But to me, this is a man that saw some really good football. So I don't know how long he's gonna kind of like zip his mouth up and not talk, because sooner or later he and Mario are gonna have a sit down. So I'm thinking he's letting Mario do his thing. But as Vish said, if his thing doesn't work after this year,
maybe that's why they raise tickets. Like, if you're stupid enough to buy tickets at this point, you'll pay whatever we ask. So might as well. Those 10 people that show up are going to pay a lot more.
That's right.
It's if you're the first person into a condo, your HOA fees are like $1 million because there's no one splitting it with you.
Just from a stability standpoint alone, if you hired Mario to bring stability back into the program, to me, that means on the field and in terms of the coaching staff. And right now, that stability to this point isn't there. I'm not saying it can't get there, but it's never good when you have, this much turnover and, your first couple of years and this indecisiveness. It's difficult to expect stability on the field when you can't even, get your coaching staff together in a timely manner. I don't know. I just don't think this is the right way to do things.
Yeah, it's a little weird. That's true.
It would be nice if we could grab a rebound. Anyway, actually, Ben has a question, which I think, I guess, what is, more generally, what is Alonzo Highsmith here for?
So Alonzo Highsmith is here as
I'm waiting.
Football operations, right? He's here to oversee. He's here to oversee the program, but he's also here to evaluate talent and evaluate coaches. And so, he is supposed to be helping him out with this.
Lord knows how many guys he must know, being in the NFL all those years and knowing that's another thing that kind of is mind-boggling, because I'm sure that he and Mario could put their heads together and say, hey, let's get this guy. We'll go with him. I think he's real.
Well, I think I think that's the area we probably landed at where Mario's like, do I get a college coordinator from a smaller school? Do I maybe get an NFL quality control assistant or passing game coordinator, someone that hasn't been an offensive coordinator before? Because those are probably options he has on the table too. Because NFL teams have like 57 assistant coaches. Like, there's a lot of people that Alonzo Highsmith will know and have relationships with that are offensive NFL coaches that do a lot of the scheming. Like, the offensive coordinators in the NFL don't do that much because they have so many assistants. They have one to do running game, one to do passing game. They'll hire a coach to do third downs. Like, they do all this specialized skill that there's not one guy doing it all. So you could easily find an NFL assistant that has a lot of the responsibilities of a college OC.
Oh, easily is a strong word.
No, you could easily find one that has those responsibilities. Whether you can find one that takes this job is a whole other question.
Right.
And if you start thinking that direction, like, okay, I cannot get my plan A college offensive coordinators, then you start going down that path, especially when you have someone like Alonzo Highsmith who has those NFL connections. But I think everyone's in agreement. We are well past the plan A stage of this. So
look at Jazz. God. Miami's finding a way to poop this game, huh?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. Oh, yeah.
Every one of our road losses has been like this.
With 70 seconds left, a minute and 10 seconds left, they're up by 7.
Yeah, but they keep throwing them.
But they keep turning the ball. They got too many turnovers and not enough rebounds. That's
exactly.
I mean, but they got out rebounded every game, so it's nothing new.
It's just some dumb plays that they're making.
They got to learn if they're down the stretch here, they're going to have to hit free throws because they're going to have the ball.
I get to Nigel and
I'm not going to jinx it, but
go ahead.
They need to hit free throws.
Yeah. Well, I mean, definitely they're going to have. Well,
but you know what? I'll tell you what. The wins that they've had, guys, especially at Clemson, a game like this, Joe Lunardi's clueless. 7. Give me a break.
Well, they're up to 5 now.
They're up to 5
They
now.
are up to 5. Okay.
Yeah,
I thought they were 7.
I think a top 3 seed. If, as long as they
I
don't blow this
agree.
game,
I mean,
is in
Miami's and something that Seth Greenberg said the other day, and I hardly ever listen to Seth Greenberg, but he said that he believes that Miami on any night could beat any team in the country, because they're athletic and they're fast and they shoot the ball extremely well, so they don't necessarily have to rely on the rebounding all the time.
Yeah. I mean, I think that they're up there with possibly the best team in the ACC, right? I think them, Virginia.
Yeah, well, they beat Virginia. I mean, they beat
Virginia.
It's Virginia and Pitt are tied for first, and we're
in that Pitt game you were just talking about.
It's exactly. Well, I mean, it's this game. We're up. It blew it in the last minute, and damn it, we did the same thing against Georgia Tech. And we did the same thing against NC State. NC State twice, because we did it in regulation, then did it in overtime again. So there are priors on this. There are priors. Just don't turn the ball over and let them foul you.
No, go to the free throw game, win it or
but the problem now, there's too much time. 5-point lead, minute. Yeah. I think you guys are probably already inbounded. Don't tell me.
No, not yet. Not yet.
I'm not saying anything.
This is tough. This is tough, but they're gonna have to figure it out. Yeah, so I think that it's going to be interesting to see if we finally have some love in the air tomorrow from the University of Miami. Maybe we get our own little Valentine's Day present by them announcing.
How long have you been saving that one up?
I don't know. I actually just thought about it right now, man. I just thought about it. Come on, let the ball go. Jeez, Louise.
Don't foul that guy.
Of course they fouled him. Of course they did. The guy that can't shoot free throws. He's,
That's the game plan. They're pressing them. See, that's the thing. These teams,
Miami's 76% from the line, so they're a pretty good shooting team.
But I'm saying a team like North Carolina is trapping them and pressing full court pressure and trying to, whatever.
I hope not.
You think, yeah. I said, if you would have asked me last week, I would have said last Friday.
Yeah, I would have laughed about it. But now it's just like, I hope not, man. There you go. Exactly. And he made it. Wow. Amir made the first one. Let's go, baby.
Yeah, I'll tell you if he makes that on my screen
in
about 30 seconds. Man, this is like completely ruining this viewing experience for
I'm sorry, but I guess we have to stay on until the game.
We got to now. There's
here's the thing. The bad news is he missed the ball, but Miami gets it right back. So there you go.
They threw it away.
All right.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. If it's good news, it's fine. I don't want to
If it's bad news, you won't say anything.
It's one of those things where I don't have to look at the screen because.
Oh no, yeah. Okay. North Carolina guy hit it last. So. All right.
Go ahead. Answer more questions.
Yeah.
As they say, talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah, DJ, you want to monologue on this since you don't care about the basketball game?
Sure. I just hope that something's announced soon as far as offensive coordinator goes. I mean, I share all your anger. And I just hope something's announced soon because spring practice is coming up, and the fact that there's still no offensive coordinator in the program right now is crazy to me. Absolutely crazy to me, but
yeah,
we'll see.
Just on Fernie's question, anything is possible at this point. Honestly,
I would say, just because of the unpredictability.
We're completely off the reservation in terms of normal timelines for things happening.
Yeah.
We waited 3 months to fire the offensive coordinator, and now have no replacement lined up. It is.
Yeah.
And I understand there's some process to go through there, but
still doesn't make it any easier for a fan.
No, it doesn't. And
Jazz will smile here. Just keep watching up. You'll smile.
Yep.
Jazz already clapped, so I think I'm the one way behind here. So, man, how is this thing where we watch games along with the stream thing and have it in the fall? Because I feel
talk amongst yourselves. Yes, sir.
That's going to be a lot of fun. That is going to be a lot of fun. I've used it before. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
Just for everyone's awareness, there is what's it called? Playback. We have a partnership with Playback, so we will be live watching Canes football this fall with the.
That's gonna be fun, man.
Trying to anyway, if I can get ACC network.
Oh my gosh, yeah. You gotta get it.
I mean, but how does we'll talk offline. We don't need to have a plan.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's Malik. I I think everyone knows my feelings on this subject.
Oh boy, let's get into this again for old time's sake.
Yeah, Malik Rozier
No.
has a lot of interesting things to say.
I don't have a problem with Malik Rozier. I have a problem with his offensive coordinator choice.
Yeah. No, I don't think Coley would come in as the offensive coordinator. I know a lot of people are thinking that he would. I think that if he came in as anything, it would be he could have the co-offensive coordinator tag, but he's not going to be calling plays. He's here for different reasons, man. And and there's
but I mean that's that.
Oh.
I only got to say
Too close for comfort.
Yep. What rumored name for OC would disappoint you the most? Doug Nussmeier.
That's the name I was thinking of.
Yeah, he has a track record of being a terrible offensive coordinator in the college level. So that I would say, again, I mean, I have reasons, but Coley would disappoint me as well. Just like I want to be forward thinking and going back to an OC we had 10 years ago.
Yeah, I don't think. I'd probably be disappointed with him.
That's fair.
And I guess I'm of a different mindset. I understand he does bring a lot to the table. He's a good coach, but I don't want to hire guys to be recruiters, man. We got recruiters. Can we get someone that's like, who's the best at teaching Van Dyke to go through his progressions? Get that guy.
By the way, this is what I wanted to mention. I know a lot of fans are like, oh my God, we need to hire a guy that's going to come in and we're going to score 40 points a game and we're going to go up and down. How many people on the chat can name me how many teams in college football average 40 points a game or more in scoring? Because I know how many. So I want to know how many you think and who they are.
So the chat's on delay, so give it 20 seconds. It's
Probably
it's further behind than my stream here.
Because I can name you. I can't name you every one of them, but I can also name you more or less how many average 35 points or more.
All right. Fernie got in there with 6.
Okay. Are you right? Are you sure you're right there, Fern?
I mean, you told him to guess. You didn't say that you were gonna
guess. Oh, it's a guess. Okay.
You were gonna like assassinate them. They got the number wrong.
Listen,
this is a
I don't even have to
choice
look
situation.
it up. I don't even have to look it up.
What
Ohio
is it, zero?
State, Michigan, Alabama, and Georgia. Look at the names. Look at the
Ohio
teams
State,
that I just
Michigan.
named. Alabama and Georgia.
All in the college football playoff at some point.
Yeah.
Well, and also none of which you would go, oh wow, that's an innovative offense. It's just I got dudes and I'm gonna beat your brains in.
TCU, who has an innovative offense, was average. I think it was 36 points a game. Tennessee averaged like 38 points a game. You got a team like Western Kentucky averages like 38 points a game, right? That's like one of the teams that are up there. I think UCLA was up there. Wake Forest was up there. I mentioned Tennessee already. Florida State averaged 35 points a game. Okay. You're right, actually. My bad. You're right. Tennessee and USC. USC, I think, was at 41 points a game, and I think Tennessee was at 40. So yeah, it is 6. It is 6. I mean, it's not like everybody.
USC,
it's hard to average 35, 40 points a game.
Right, but actually,
people need to realize that.
USC is actually a good.
Washington was up there too. Washington averaged like right under, I think.
But USC is a good thing to look at because that does appear to be the most you can get out of a program running that style of offense. Oklahoma for years and now took it to the West Coast.
Right.
Playoff semifinals a bunch, which is great, but that does appear to be the ceiling because eventually you hit a team that can play defense and they slow you down just a little bit and you have no answer for that. And that is that's kind of what happens to every year with that program. They're always like around the playoffs. They're like, they lost to who now? And what happened? They blew what lead? And
a lot of times, like, sorry, Vish, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm just
basking
victory over here.
A lot of times, the defenses of the teams that score a ton of points aren't that good either. So it's often a track meet for those types of games.
But in this instance. Like Alabama, top pretty decent defense.
Yeah,
they weren't the best this year, but Georgia had one of the top defenses. Michigan had like the top 5 defense in the country, right? Ohio State's defense was okay, right? Wasn't bad either. It was pretty good. Those. I mean, if you want that, I mean, it's hard, man. It's not easy to get a guy that's going to come in here and average 35, 40 points a game. Like that's not the norm. Out of the 128 teams in college football, I think it's less than like 40 or like 44 that averaged over 30 points a game. Like, think about that for a second, right? I mean, it's tough. It's not easy. I know, and for all of you calling for Major Applewhite, Major Applewhite averaged 29 points per game at Southern Alabama this year. So, like, he's still, yeah, I'm not saying it's a bad offense, and that's an air raid offense. Like, what are we,
So I do
But here's the thing,
actually
like-
speaking of that, and speaking of the Houston guy Shannon, whatever. Dawson, sorry.
Yeah.
I do think there is probably an element of hopefully some self-reflection for Mario in terms of, I think, the running game is a lot of it's built around the offensive line and kind of the blocking schemes. And I think Mario probably feels he's got that. The passing game, scheming people open, he might feel he doesn't have. So I could definitely see some air raid pass concepts coming into this
Sure.
to mix in with the running game and kind of pull from multiple experiences there. Because I think, if anything, I mean, you look at the pass concepts last year, and it was the quarterbacks were lost, like people weren't getting open. And so I think that he might also be looking for that, like who's a good complement, because obviously Miraball's not going anywhere, and because of that means the air raid. We actually had this before. I cannot believe I'm spacing on our old offensive line coach's name, but with Lashley here, we had to get a new offensive line coach because you have to block completely different to run that offense.
Speaking of old offensive line coaches,
Stoutland.
Well, Butch Berry just got hired by the Miami Dolphins.
Oh yeah,
coach. Okay, yeah, Jeff Stoutland's kicking ass over in Philadelphia.
But I mean that is so
Ball game.
Ball game. All right,
Yes,
there we go, baby.
Yeah, that'll be it.
But you can't you can't run that offense with like a Miraball blocking scheme. It's not the same thing,
right?
And so, unless he's running on firing Miraball, which I don't think he's going to do, just going to go out and live there. Just going to go out and live there and say that's not going to happen. I think that you cannot run an air raid with that blocking scheme. You can't do it. It's completely different types of linemen you get. You block completely differently. That's why you had to bring in different. It's Garen Justice. I just remember his name. Had to bring him in to work with Lashley. To work with Lashley because you had to have that cohesion. So right. I think he's honestly looking for getting someone with more spread passing concepts to run his offense. And I think that's what he's when you start looking at Major Applewhite. I don't think he's going to come in here and run an air raid. And especially pulling someone from Holgerson's tree is an interesting one.
Will there be concepts, like you said, and formations? Sure, but I don't think that's like the base of what this offense will be. So we'll see. Anyways, all right, let's end it here. Miami with a big win. The University of Miami basketball team, Canes Hoops, big win against North Carolina in Chapel Hill. Nice win, 80-72, baby. So we've got baseball starting up soon too.
Yep.
Canes baseball starts this weekend with a 3. Look at Alex Schwartz over in Chapel Hill. Lucky guy. Shout out to Alex Schwartz, who helps us out with Canes basketball and with baseball a little bit. Although it's Josh White also. Josh White helps us out with Canes baseball. Also, Canes baseball will be myself and Vish will actually be at the game against Dartmouth. At the series per se against Dartmouth a couple of weeks from now.
Yeah, busy weekend. Got 2 hoops games, some baseball going on, all at home.
Some basketball games as well. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun. Thanks for everybody who checked us out.
I appreciate it, Mark, but that last 20 minutes we were kind of
Yeah, right. That was fun, man. That was fun.
It wasn't great. I'll admit, all of us like staring off in different my screen
right.
down here.
By the way,
are up there. It's just like
now you guys can go tune into Flo's show. Now you guys can make sure you check us out every Monday night.
Watch 3 dudes watching basketball all out of sync. That was a great show. Yeah, great show.
Awesome. But that's us to a T. It may not be pretty, but it works.
That's us. That's the Six Rings Canes. Check us out every Monday, typically at 8:30 p.m. here on the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel. Subscribe, smash the like button. Make sure you check us out. Next week, we will be announcing the offensive coordinator, whether the Canes like it or not.
You said that last.
We're gonna name one. Who the hell cares? We're gonna name one for Mario if he doesn't name one, and that's the bottom line.
Maybe it'll be like when they can't find a starting quarterback and they rotate him. It'll just be like, All right, this coordinator
Yeah.
calls first.
You'll
down.
call the
Let's-
plays this week.
Blue, send a text to Mario,
just do
man. Let
whatever
him know
you
what the hell we decided. Tell him that we decided this is the guy that he needs to hire, and that's it.
Yeah, Blum.
Yeah, right. We'll see you guys next Monday. Thanks for joining us. Adios.
The 6 Rig Kane Show. Yeah. The 6 Rig Kane Show. Yeah. The 6 Rings Kane Show.